Senator Joe Biden is the ranking minority member on the Foreign Relations Committee. Hi, Senator. Good to see you.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm fine. You were here. I was looking back. You were here just 2 weeks ago, and it's an amazing change in those 2 weeks. At that time, the Republicans were loath to talk about the war in Iraq. They were talking about things like gay marriage and flag burning, and the Democrats seemed to be in the driver's seat. Here we are 2 weeks later, Senator. The Republicans are united behind the president, and it appears the Democrats are divided. How did this happen?
Well, I think it's true. They are united. They're united in a failed policy. This may be political jiu-jitsu, but it's not changing the conditions on the ground, nor do I think it's having any impact on the idea the American people think we have a plan for success. And, I know it's inside politics, but I quite frankly don't know that it has any resonance whatsoever with real people.
Well, do you think, though, that there is a perception?
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to find out. Do you think there might be a perception building that the Democrats can't get on the same page? I mean, two Democratic proposals were voted on the floor of the Senate yesterday. Neither one passed. As a matter of fact, one of them, the one put forward by John Kerry, only got 13 votes. There are 44 Democrats in the Senate, only 13 votes. How did that happen?
Well, that's the point. We don't agree with John Kerry. The vast majority of Democrats don't think we should set a date of a time certain. What we do think is what we all agreed on last year, that this was supposed to be a year of transition and a political solution, and we want to know what the president's plan is. In the resolution that got over 40 votes, we said, look, Mr. President, you got to do three things. You got to get the sectarian violence out of the military, you got to give the Sunnis a piece of the action, and you got to keep the outside neighbors from infiltrating. And that's how we can redeploy our troops over the next year and a half. That's what we said, but that's what the vast majority of Democrats are.
You know how important perception is, especially as we're building up to the midterm elections. And so when John Kerry puts forth this proposal calling for the withdrawal of U.S. forces by July of 2007, and you start to hear the Republicans react to it by saying cutting and running, and the president even used the term the white flag of surrender. Did John Kerry hurt the Democratic Party by putting forth that proposal?
Well, I don't know whether it hurt the party, because if everybody takes a look, you got a handful of people voted for it, 13 people. I respect John Kerry's position. I disagree with it, but you can understand the frustration. And the irony here is, you just reported earlier, Casey's already talking about redeploying troops. There was a big article yesterday in the press pointing out they're sending Humvees home, armored Humvees home, and troops are supposed to follow. Everybody knows they're drawing down and redeploying troops between now and the end of the year. But it is a great political show, but it's not helping our guys out there and women out there on the streets in Baghdad, and I don't think the American people are falling for it. But again, that's above my pay grade. I just know what I think the right thing to do is.
Let me ask you about
the right thing to do is not to set a date.
Let me ask you about another subject. The North Koreans, they've got a missile, a long-range missile on the launch pad, apparently fueled and ready for a test. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice has said if they fire that, it'll be a provocative act. In an editorial in the Washington Post on Thursday, two former Democratic administration officials, Defense Administration officials under the Clinton administration, William Perry and Ashton Carter, said basically that if the North Koreans continue with their plans to launch this missile, that it might be a good idea for the United States to take it out right on the launch pad. I guess a cruise missile attack. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think that's a little premature. Here's my concern about that. Not that we can't do that. I don't know what it stops overall. And number two, I don't know what happens in South Korea, whether South Korea views that as a provocative move, South Korea, our ally, and tells us to get our troops out of South Korea. So if they know something I don't know about the negotiations of South Korea and Japan, that to me is the key. Right. What's going to happen with our two allies now who are strongly behind us, who say, in fact, if they do take this move, they will move with sanctions against North Korea along with us. That's the route I think we should do.
So real quickly, then,
without them, I don't know what we can do.
Real quickly, then, if they do test fire that missile, if you were president, what would be your immediate response?
My immediate response would be to get the regional powers to join us in putting real sanctions position to really go after economically and politically North Korea.
Senator Joe Biden. Senator, as always, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you a lot.